Sometimes normal feels scarier than the darkness you've grown used to. The days drifted by faster than I realized, and before I knew it, Saturday had arrived. And according to the laws of nature, Saturdays were meant for peace, laziness, and doing absolutely nothing. Well, not almost nothing. I sat cross-legged on my bed, my laptop open in front of me, sunlight spilling lazily across my sheets. My fingers tapped the keys with a rhythm that almost felt natural now. Funny how quickly I'd adapted. A month ago, I barely knew how to navigate this shiny metal box without Chloe's sarcastic commentary echoing in my head. But now I could type research and even submit assignments without wanting to throw out the window. See, Chloe purred faintly in the back of my mind. You're becoming one of them. Maybe that's the point, I murmured, half smiling as I hit save. Just then, a knock came on my door. Addie. Mom's warm voice floated in. Yeah, come in, I called, closing the lid of my laptop. The door creaked open, and she stepped in, smiling softly. She sat at the edge of my bed, her perfume drifting in the air. Light, floral, familiar. Honey, your friend Kelly is downstairs. I blinked, glancing at the time. She's what? I scrambled off the bed, nearly tripping over my charger. Oh my God, she's early. Mom chuckled. You didn't tell me you were expecting her. I didn't think she'd come this soon, I said, trying to smooth my messy hair. Mom chuckled. What are you two up to today? I hesitated for a second, then said, one of our friends, Danny, is having a costume party tonight. Kelly's here so we can go shopping for outfits. Mom's eyes lit up instantly. A costume party? Oh, that sounds fun. I was hoping to, I said carefully, my voice almost small. If it's okay with you, I mean. We'll shop first, then go over to Kelly's house to get ready, and maybe head to the party straight from there. She tilted her head, studying me like she couldn't quite believe how far I'd come, that proud mom look softening her features. Of course, sweetie. I'm so happy you're finally making friends. Living like a normal teenager for once. You've been cooped up in your room too long. Thanks, Mom. My voice softened. I'll text you if we end up staying late. I promise. Good. And be careful, right? Your brothers would be there anyway, so they'll look after you. Come on, Mom, I'm not some kind of a 14-year-old kid. I can practically take care of myself. Well, you still are to me, she said with a grin. Now go on before Kelly bounces through the ceiling. That girl has too much energy. Oh yeah, Mom chuckled as she walked out of the room, leaving the faint sound of her laughter trailing behind. I didn't even have time to grab my bag before the door swung open again, this time without knocking. Addie, Kelly practically screamed, bursting in with her usual hurricane energy. She threw her arms wide and landed face first on my bed. I groaned. Kelly, do you ever enter a room like a normal person? Nope, she said cheerfully, flipping over and hugging one of my pillows. Why would I, when dramatic entrances are my brand? I laughed. You're literally insane. And you love it, she teased. Hope you're ready. I found the perfect store for our costumes. I've been up since 6 planning this. 6? Who even wakes up that early on a Saturday? People who take fashion seriously, she said with mock pride, striking a pose. I roll my eyes. You're hopeless. Shaking my head as I packed a few things, wallet, charger, lip gloss, a spare hoodie. And you love me, she teased, hopping up to help me stuff a few things into my bag. Oh, and Danny texted this morning. He said everyone's hyped for tonight. You're not backing out, right? Not this time, I said with a grin. I promised Leo I'd go. Good, she said, pointing dramatically. Because I'm not accepting excuses this time. I chuckled, slinging my bag over my shoulder. Fine, fine. Let's go before you combust. We were still laughing as we made our way downstairs. Leo was lounging on the couch when we got to the living room, scrolling through his phone, and that usual lazy grin on his face. "Hey, ladies," he called out with a grin, lowering his phone off to paint the town. Kelly rolled her eyes playfully. "We're going shopping, genius." "Same thing," Leo said, smirking at me. Well, feels good you're finally joining the world of social events." "Shut up," I said, rolling my eyes. Kelly grinned. "You're welcome, by the way. It took both of us to convince you." Leo nodded in agreement. "Yeah, and I'm still shocked she actually said yes. Anyway, just make sure you guys behave tonight. Danny's parties can get chaotic." Kelly winked. "We'll survive." "Speak for yourself," I murmured. Before Leo could respond, movement caught my eye. Lee walked past us from the kitchen, barefoot, wearing dark swim shorts and holding a surfboard in one hand. His hair was damp, a towel hanging loosely around his neck. He is clearly going for an ocean swim. He didn't say a word, just kept walking toward the back door. As he passed, his eyes met mine for a split second. Cold, quiet, searching for something he'd never say out loud. Then he turned away. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Kelly leaned toward me, whispering, "Okay, that guy gives off serious mystery novel vibes." I forced a small smile, shaking my head. "Trust me, I'm still trying to figure that out." And with that, we stepped out into the crisp morning light, the kind that made the air smell faintly of salt and something new. Kelly was already chattering beside me. As always, her voice bright and fast, her curls bouncing as we walked down the driveway toward her car. "So," she said, unlocking it with a click, "I was thinking we could start at Luna's boutique, because they've got the best stuff for costume parties, and then hit up the mall for accessories. I already have a few ideas for you." I groaned, sliding into the passenger seat. "That sounds dangerous." Kelly grinned, starting the engine. "Danger is fun. You'll thank me when you're the hottest witch at Danny's party." I thought it was a masquerade, not a supernatural convention. "Witches are timeless, Addie. They go with everything." I laughed, turning to look out the window as the car pulled onto the road. The town stretched out before us, clean streets, familiar stores, people, walking dogs, and carrying paper coffee cups. It all looked so ordinary, so easy. For a moment, I wondered what it must feel like to belong to this world completely, to not have a secret humming beneath your skin, reminding you that you were different. Chloe's voice stirred faintly in my head, like a whisper behind glass. "You could belong anywhere if you stopped pretending you wanted to." "Not now," I muttered under my breath, lips barely moving. Kelly reached over and turned up the radio, blasting a pop song that filled the car with reckless energy. "Stop thinking. Just vibe, okay?" I laughed, giving in. "Fine. Vibe mode activated." I muttered as we made it to the boutique Kelly talked about. We spent the next few hours drifting from one store to another. Kelly was a whirlwind, grabbing dresses, masks, shoes, and shoving them into my arms faster than I could protest. She made me try on half the store, twirling me around each time like a stylist with a mission. When I finally stepped out of the fitting room wearing a slightly modern take on a witch costume dress that brushed my knees, she gasped dramatically. "That's it," she said. "That's the one." I looked at my reflection, soft curls falling over my shoulders, the dress hugging me in ways that felt unfamiliar but not wrong. "Really? Really," she said, smiling. "You look like the witch who's about to change someone's life tonight." I roll my eyes, but the heat crept up my neck anyway. "You're ridiculous. And you're glowing," she teased, nudging me. After we paid for everything, we stopped at a small cafe on the corner. The air smelled like coffee and cinnamon, and for once, the noise around us didn't feel overwhelming. Kelly stirred her drink lazily, watching people pass by through the glass. "So, She said, "Are you nervous?" "About what?" "The party, duh. Everyone's going to be there. Danny, Leo, JJ, Amber, and her 2 puppies as usual. I mean, probably half the school, 'cause it was posted in the school platform, and even Lee probably." I froze halfway through my sip. "Lee?" "Yeah," she said casually. "Danny said no one in our group should be left missing. Didn't you remember?" I shook my head, my chest tightening a little. "I didn't think he was the party type." Kelly shrugged. "Apparently, he's friends with Danny's older brother. But don't worry, he probably won't even notice us." "Right," I murmured, staring into my cup. But the truth was, Lee always noticed. He just never said anything. By the time we got back to her place, the sun was already lowering behind the rooftops. Kelly's room looked like a hurricane had passed through. A mountain of fabrics, makeup, curling irons, and snacks littered every surface. "Welcome to the war zone," she said proudly. "This is terrifying. Fashion is war, babe." We laughed as she tossed me a hanger. "Now let's make you sparkle." The next hour blurred into a haze of glitter, perfume, and laughter. Kelly had this way of making even chaos feel fun, singing off-key to the songs playing from her speaker, dancing while trying to apply mascara. "Hold still," she said, trying to steady my face with one hand. "I can if you keep laughing," I protested, giggling. She snorted, "You're impossible." And then my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen casually to see it was a call from Leo. "Leo's calling." Kelly's grin widened. "Perfect timing. Pick up the phone then." I rolled my eyes, hitting the green icon. "Hey, Leo." "Finally," he said through the speaker, his voice layered with that mix of teasing and big brother concern. "You two alive?" "Barely," I said, glancing around at the battlefield of makeup and sequins. "Kelly's turning me into something sparkly and dangerous." Kelly leaned closer to the phone. "Dangerous, yes. Sparkly, not enough yet." Leo laughed. "That's exactly what worries me. You're not turning my sister into a glitter bomb, are you?" "She's turning me into something worse," I said, smirking. "A witch." "Oh, that tracks," Leo said dryly. "Might as well make it official." "Huh. Very funny." He chuckled. "Anyway, Danny's already setting up. You should see his backyard. It looks like a movie set. Just don't be too late, okay?" "We're leaving soon," I said. "Promise." "Good. And Addie?" "Yeah." His voice softened. "You deserve to have fun tonight. Don't overthink everything." The warmth in his tone caught me off guard. "Thanks, Leo." "All right. I'll stop being sentimental. See you there." The line went dead. I stared at my phone for a second, then let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Kelly smiled knowingly. "He's a good brother." "Yeah," I said quietly. "He really is." "Now," she said, clapping her hands. "Enough emotional bonding. It's time for the grand reveal." She grabbed the costume bag from the bed and handed it to me like it was sacred. I raised a brow. "You make it sound like a ritual." "It is," she said solemnly. "Now go change before I drag you in there myself." Laughing, I stepped into the adjoining bathroom and locked the door. The moment I unzipped the garment bag, I froze. The fabric shimmered faintly in the light. Midnight black with silver threads that caught like stars. The dress hugged at the waist, soft velvet brushing my skin, with lace sleeves that spilled down to my wrists. It was witch-like, but not cliché, mysterious, elegant, and strangely powerful. I slipped it on, tying the ribbon at my waist. The mirror reflected someone I barely recognized. Someone stronger, braver, maybe even dangerous. For a second, Chloe stirred faintly within me. "Now this," she whispered, "feels more like us." I didn't argue, because, for once, she wasn't wrong. When I stepped out, Kelly gasped dramatically. "Oh, my God." "What?" I asked, fiddling with the lace at my wrist. You look, she took a step back, eyes wide, like you just stepped out of a dark fairy tale. The kind where the witch isn't evil. She's just misunderstood. I laughed, shaking my head. That's oddly specific. Own it, Addie, she said, spinning me toward the mirror again. You look perfect. I couldn't help but smile. You think so? I know so. She wasn't wrong. The reflection staring back didn't look like the quiet new girl from Winter's High. She looked like someone who could walk into a room and make it stop breathing for a second. Kelly's phone buzzed. That's JJ. He says everyone's already there. She grabbed her mask, a delicate black lace one, and handed me mine. Mine matched the dress, sleek and feathered with a small silver charm that shimmered under the light. When I slipped it on, it felt like the final piece of a version of me I hadn't met until now. Ready? Kelly asked, her eyes glinting with excitement. I took one last look in the mirror. Yeah, I said softly. I think I am. We grabbed our purses and headed out the door. The evening air was cool, brushing against my skin like a quiet warning. The streets glowed gold under the setting sun as we climbed into her car. Kelly hummed along to the music as we drove, tapping the steering wheel. I leaned back in the seat, watching the world blur past. The streetlights flickering on, the sky deepening to violet. For a while, it almost felt peaceful. But my thoughts refused to stay still. I kept replaying Leo's words. Don't overthink everything. As if he knew that even when everything seemed calm, there's still something crawling beneath my skin. Restless, waiting. And then there was Lee. That brief look he gave me before leaving for the ocean. It hadn't left my mind. Cold, yes. But beneath that, something had flickered. Something that almost felt like warning. Kelly's voice broke through my thoughts. You okay? I blinked, forcing a smile. Yeah. Just thinking. Well, stop thinking. You're about to have fun, remember? Right. I smiled faintly, staring out the window again. The last of the daylight slipped behind the horizon, and the night stretched open before us, mysterious, alive, and waiting. To be continued. The night is just beginning, and the masks are only starting to slip. Something tells me this party won't end the way they expect. If you're feeling that slow burn, that tension before the storm, Skull, don't forget to drop your thoughts below, and subscribe for episode 8. Because in the next one, shadows won't just follow. They'll take over.